Like the representation of like lesbians that I would see, they would be very butch. So even just seeing those butch lesbians was very hard for me because I still couldn't see myself, and it was very hard for me to come to terms with my sexuality because I didn't relate to anyone, so I still didn't really know exactly who I was.
What I am seeing on TV and shows is that I'm a joke, or that this is a secret I shouldn't tell anybody, and it's like, how do you think that's going to make a teenager feel like they can ever say anything? Or parents don't know gay people as far as I know. And if there's no representation of it popping up in the media or on the show, like how am I supposed to gauge their reaction to gay people if we don't know any? So then it's like you're going into this blind minefield.
I don't remember anyone like in any show that I watched until I was a teenager being bisexual or saying the word bisexual. Like there were a lot of, oh, I'm really fluid, or, you know, people who were bisexual only when it came to sex. Like they would have sex with women or whatever, but not actually want to be in a relationship with them. It was just like a kinky thing.
Growing up, seeing the only representation of who I am as a man in a dress that wasn't even my identity, but was the closest representation I got, that was so hurtful to me.
Finally, I started watching like Queer as Folk, and that was really cool to like see like a group of gay men hanging out as opposed to them just being a supporting character, because that's typically what you would see. And then even in that show, you had a lesbian couple who was very involved with the storyline. Like if you took them out, the storyline wouldn't make as much sense. But they still portrayed that stereotype that all lesbians want kids, which was frustrating because I myself don't want kids. And then I started watching The L Word 2, which was very similar to Queer as Folk in the way that it was a group of lesbians, but they all still had a lot of the tropes and stereotypes, such as like the promiscuous gay, or like, again, the stereotype of all lesbians want kids. So it was still hard to like fully see myself in these representations.
Because if you don't see yourself in media, how are you going to understand who you are? If you don't exist in what you're being taught, how do you know that's who you are?
Anytime it was like an inkling of bisexual nature or whatever, it was seen not as a valid identity. And even beyond that, like if someone was bisexual, they were kind of like the brunt of the joke. Like, oh, you're just greedy, or like just pick a side already. And it's like, well, I like both gender. I like all genders, you know. And I really identify as pansexual, but nobody knows what that is. The representation that we do have, like big mouth, it was just not accurate at all, and I just don't feel like explaining my entire like attraction to someone every time I want to like express who I am.
The first gay movie I want to say I saw was Brokeback Mountain, and that portrays it as something that should be in secret. Oh, and it'll eventually get you killed.
Never really experienced that like one big moment where, oh, suddenly everyone knows like I'm gay. The movies and shows where the whole plot is coming out and it being this big deal and you're like changed forever after it, it's just unrealistic. I am who I am, and I'm gonna be the way that I am regardless of if other people know or not.
Even what you see still doesn't represent the community as a whole. Like, it's usually white, hot, thin guys that you see. You don't see any plus size people, you don't see any people of color, and they usually play like a stereotypical version of a gay guy role. Even when like the early 2000s movies, it was always like the super effeminate gay best friend that the rich girl always had.
The best example I can think of is Rosa Diaz from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. It was really important to see like her introduced as just a person, and she just had a significant other that happened to be a woman, and it was just such a normal thing. And that's all I can ask for, is that the character is a person and a character before they're like a bisexual or before they're gay.
Another one of the stereotypes that you usually see with media is the idea of it being hot when two women are together, just to appeal to the male gaze.
All of the representation I saw was either negative or non-existent.
I feel like if there was better media representation of what it's actually like being part of the LGBT community, then the heteronormative society would be able to treat us better because they would actually understand that we're just people at the end of the day. There's nothing different about us, and it's okay that we like whoever we like.
The first thing I would like to see is trans women get representation that is not of a man in a dress, because that is so harmful to trans women, because it stereotypes them as predatory, and that is awful.
Going forward, I would really like to see it just like represent everybody as a whole. They have jobs. They have a personality. Like, that says it all. Like, other than being gay.
I would love to just see more in general, because that's not what I had growing up, and it's not fair that I didn't get to see myself in what I watched. If I had known that it is possible to be a transgender man, it would have saved me years of discomfort and frustration with my identity.
What I would like for future media is to have better representation of all members of the LGBT+ community, because media is so heavily a part of our society these days that majority of the information we are gaining as a society comes from different media platforms. So if we're not having accurate representation of people in our society, we're going to continue to perpetuate these stereotypes over and over again, and it's not going to benefit anyone. We need to continue moving forward in these different movements, and the only way to do that is to have better representation in media.